Here we go. It's loading.
Okay, you're live.
We're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Are you guys awake?
I am.
Okay. Let's see who'll be first on. Probably Claudia or William. Yeah, you want to pull that over here?
Someone named BizOp is first.
BizOp. Good
Yeah.
morning.
You want some water?
No, I'm good. I'll have another coffee, honey. Thank you. Okay, let's see.
There's George. George Graham.
Hey, George. Good morning. I just got off phone with George. Let's see who else we got. Darius. Good morning. Let's see. Joe Jones. Good morning. Thomas team. Greetings. Walter Brown. Good morning. They're starting to roll in, so we'll give them a few minutes. And for those that are on, you know, we're been working on a lot of good stuff. We're going to make some announcements next week that are going to, you'll see the work that's been accomplished over the last couple of weeks on a lot of things, not only the technology side, but the marketing side with Tony, myself, and other people in the company, starting to get things to shake up and move. I wanted to do a big shout out to William Mathis. He signed 5 restaurants 2 days ago in Miami market. So that all in one day.
Nice.
And he sent some great photos over. So William's on fire, and George Graham is on fire. He just brought a deal. We're not going to announce it yet, but hopefully Tuesday, you'll see a life-changing event. And you guys are going to, like, when you hear about this, you're going to be jumping in, not on all fours, but the whole body's going. But yeah, we're making great progress in a lot of areas. So what we're going to do, and we'll announce it after call too, but we're going to do a call Tuesday night at 6 p.m. PST. And we're going to do a promotion, and Tony's going to lead the charge on that. And just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, you know, a couple days before. It'll be a light week, obviously, because of the holidays, but got a lot of good stuff coming on. See who's else on. Aloha, Ruby, how are you? Mahalo. Hey, Ruby, I should tell you, I'm probably going to be in Hawaii in July because the Trans-Pacific Yacht Race is that month. And I'm going to go over for the end of the race to see a bunch of my friends when they come to the dock.
You're finally going to take me to Hawaii?
I'm going to take my wife to Hawaii. I know, it's going to be a blast. I can't wait to go. We were actually going to go to New Zealand for the America's Cup, but with COVID, you can't.
I'd rather go to Hawaii.
But American Magic, just for those that don't really keep up with sailboat racing, is one of the teams that's in the hunt for the America's Cup, and they look pretty darn good. So pretty happy. They might give the Kiwis a run and get the cup back. For all you football fans. Let's see who else is on. Let's go. Jim Clayton's on. Jeff, Darius. How you doing, Darius? You knocking it out? Eris, how are you doing, buddy? Eris was put a team on in California in the last couple of days going after the Hispanic market. So we had a meeting which was really fruitful, and they're going to start lighting up. I got to do a map today for them on what quadrants in LA to start working on, so we get proximity, because the market is so big. Obviously, we have to, you know, concentrate. So they're going to start in the Valley, Woodland Hills, which I know very well, and we're going to map out that whole market, you know, and then we're going to go to another market, another market, another market. So we'll chop up Southern California probably into about 10 markets as we open them.
Eris is telling you to say hello to Juan Pablos Morales and his wife.
Yes. Hola, Juan Pablos. And I think her name is Eris. What's his wife's name? Isn't it Helen, I think? Let's see what he says.
Deborah is here from Chicago. How much snow did you get, Deborah?
Okay.
Oh, Koyat brought 2 guests.
Koyat, I knew he was going to bring guests because he said yesterday he was bringing. He's the only one that's brought a guest so far that I can tell.
Way to go.
Congrats. Hey, Koyat, we're going to be in Canada right after the first of the year to get you lit up in Toronto. And then we'll start opening the rest of the markets in Canada. That was a great find for Eris and Leonard. Got that going, and also the other markets in the States. So we'll probably end up by mid-year between Canada and the US, something probably 24, 25 ghost kitchens in Canada, and additional probably 30 or 50 in the States by mid-year. So that's a good get. But wait till you hear the one that George got. So you want to get started, Tony? Tony's going to go over the restaurants, how to engage restaurants and get them fired up and join. We're making some pretty darn good headway, so everybody knows the business model. Once people see it and really get exposed to it, they got it sorted out pretty quick.
Right on. Well, we'll get things rocking and rolling for everybody. We want to cover restaurant acquisition, and it's one of those things that I've talked a little bit about on some previous trainings. It was kind of trial and error for my organization and myself when we got into restaurant delivery in 2016. And so I want to share a quick slideshow, and then really I'm going to go in depth into a little bit into our scripts and a little bit into or probably more in depth into our one-page documents. There's 2 documents that I really want to cover as far as restaurant acquisition. And again, this is something that was trial and error. And so I'm going to share my screen real quick, and that way we can, kind of go through this together. And then I'm more than happy to answer any questions or anything that we've got afterwards. So, so this restaurant acquisition, when I first started in the restaurant delivery space, it really was, walking in and failing, trying to figure out what worked, what didn't work. And most of the first restaurants I walked into, I pretty much walked out with my tail between my legs, and I did not have a new restaurant partner on board. And then I learned the right things to say. I learned the things that the restaurants were looking for. And there's a couple different types of restaurants you run into. Most of the restaurants you run into these days are going to be restaurants that are already dealing with delivery. They already utilize a third-party delivery service, and that's pretty typical these days. When I first started, there were some of those restaurants that had delivery in some of the cities I dealt in, and then there was some restaurants that had never dealt with third-party delivery before. And if you're in smaller cities, smaller towns, working with Trip and onboarding restaurants, you might end up with some restaurants that have never dealt with third-party delivery, but a lot of you are going to deal with restaurants that are already utilizing DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Postmates, or one of the many other smaller third parties that are out there, or some of the mid-sized third-party delivery businesses that are out there. So when we go into restaurants, there's a few different ways really to approach the restaurants. You can do what's called a cold call walk-in. There's also what I call a warm walk-in. There's phone calls, where you're just, cold calling. And then there's Facebook messaging. I've utilized all these different approaches, and they all work. The cold call walk-in is really what I started doing when I opened my first city in restaurant delivery. I just walked into restaurants. A warm walk-in, there's a couple ways to do a warm walk-in. One is the owner or the manager, the decision maker. So it'd be a warm walk-in. It's a restaurant you go to a lot. The owner, they know you. And when you walk in, yay, Mary, how are you? Mary owns the restaurant. So that's a warm walk-in. You can talk to Mary pretty easily if you know she's the owner and you've dealt with her a lot. I've created warm walk-ins because if I'm going to eat out, I'll almost always choose a restaurant that I want to pitch on Trip Delivers, So if I'm walking into a restaurant and I, am hungry, I'll sit down and eat. And if the food's good, which when I target restaurants, the initial restaurants I target to go after in a city, if I'm in Nashville, for example, which we're looking to acquire more restaurants, one of the first things I do is I start looking at Yelp, Facebook, Google. I look at the reviews. What are the best reviewed restaurants? What are the restaurants with the highest ratings and the most reviews? That's where I want to start. And I'll go to that restaurant. If I'm hungry, I'll eat there. And, I'll try and eat a late lunch. That's really the best time if I'm gonna do a warm walk-in and eat at the restaurant I'm wanting to pitch on the Trip Delivers family. I'll eat there at a late lunch. If the food's great, I'll compliment. I'll see if the owner's around. And very seldomly do you get a standoffish owner if you're sitting there eating their food and getting ready to pay. They become more open to whatever you're chatting with them about. Almost every cold walk-in that you make, a lot of times the owners will put their guard up, or you won't even make it to the owner. They'll have a gatekeeper. And I owned restaurants and I had partners. And so if a salesperson walked into the restaurant, if I was around, we had a few of them, I guess, if I was in one of the locations and a sales rep walked in and said, "Hey, is the owner around?" My employees would, if my business partner, Mike, wasn't in the restaurant, my employees were all trained to say, "No, Mike's not available." If Mike was around and I wasn't there, they'd say, "Nah, Tony's not available." So whoever wasn't there was always the owner, that they needed to talk to. So we always kind of had that gate up because we were busy. We were doing things and working on different projects, and didn't really want to be pitched on much while we were there at that time. We'd get a business card or something from the sales rep and we'd look, and if it was something we were interested in, then we'd maybe follow up with them. So when you cold walk in, and this will be in our scripts as we go over it, the main goal I had when I cold walk into a restaurant is to find out the name of the owner or the decision maker, the GM, whoever that is, and most of the restaurants we deal with are going to be locals. They're going to be mom and pops. And so you want to find out who the owner is. That's the main goal. If I can get their name, if I find out their name's Mary or Bob or whoever, and they're not around, I go, great. When are they usually around? And I'll find out when they're around. And then the next time I walk into that restaurant, if I say, "Hey, is Bob around?" It's amazing how their guard drops. Like whoever the employee is like, "Hold on, I'll go grab them." Like they immediately, because you're asking for the owner by name, they just assume you know the person and you should be talking to the person. And so when I cold walk into a restaurant, my goal isn't necessarily to sign that restaurant up. There's times where I've walked in and signed the restaurant up, but my main goal is I want to get the name of the owner. Now, if the owner's available and he's got a few minutes or she's got a few minutes to sit down, then my goal is to get them onboarded, sit down with them, share information, and get them onboarded. But initially, all I'm trying to do is find out the name of the decision maker. The warm walk-in, if I'm eating lunch there, I want to find out who the owner is. I want to chat with them. I want to build that quick relationship, and I want to see if they're interested in what we have to offer. If I do a cold phone call, I want to find out who the owner is, what their name is. And the Facebook message, those are easy. You're pretty much going to get right to the owner. So you go onto the Facebook page of the restaurant and you send them a message. And I've got a script to share with you guys on what to send if you're going to send Facebook messages to restaurant owners. And you want to do all of these things. You want to end up doing Zoom meetings. With COVID, it's a little less face-to-face meetings these days, but there still are face-to-face meetings depending on the city and state that you're in. But Zoom is fine as well. Phone calls, they work. But I like to do a Zoom so I can share my screen and go through some of our marketing collateral. Utilize the system, guys. And this is the last slide because I do want to get into the scripts that we've put together and the one-page documents, and that's really key. So with the scripts, let me just go through some of the basics. I'm not going to read through each word of these scripts because really they're based around the one-page documents, but there's different scripts that you can utilize. So if you're brand new to Trip and you have a leader that you're working with, and this leader is somebody that's getting restaurants onboarded, and you want to set them up, you don't want to necessarily do the restaurant pitch yourself right away. You want to learn a little bit first. You can utilize your leadership, and there's scripts for over the phone, how to set a live appointment for your leadership, and that these scripts will be loaded in your back office. I've actually got an updated one I'm going to send, so they'll probably if there might be one already in there now, but they're going to update it. I just had a couple grammar errors that I caught. There might be more. If you catch them, let me know, and we'll update them. But over the phone to set Zoom appointments for leadership. So you can, call restaurants and try and set up Zoom appointments. Again, the main thing, it's in bold there. If they're not there, if the owner's not around, find out the owner's name. That way you can contact them the next time and ask for them by name. It's way easier to get an owner on the phone if you know their name. And if they're not in, find out when they'll be in and then call them at that day or time. And that's how you want to set up your initial appointments with the owner. Get their name, figure out when they're available. And then, if they're in, you go through this information. And, we've got some key points we want to disseminate ourselves, and I guess distance ourselves from Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, some of those companies that are really hammering all these restaurants with their delivery fees. And so we want to let restaurant owners know right away, hey, this is Tony with Trip Delivers. We're a unique restaurant marketing company expanding at a time when a ton of third-party delivery companies like Uber and DoorDash are hammering restaurant partners with massive delivery fees. Trip Delivers helps you increase your revenue at little to no cost to you. And, we've already had people asking if we could deliver for you. So I wanted to connect with you ASAP. And that's what I'll tell each and every one of you that's going out for restaurant acquisition. If you go on Yelp, if you go on Facebook, if you go on Google and you find highly reviewed restaurants that you want to start targeting, Trip Delivers, we want them delivering for Trip Delivers. So you can let them know that there's already people wanting them to deliver with Trip Delivers, because I do and Bob does. And so you can honestly tell them, we've got people that are already asking for you guys to deliver through Trip Delivers. The other thing you can tell them is one of the partners you work with has a background, in restaurant ownership. They've owned restaurants and they got tired of paying massive third-party delivery fees. And that's one of the reasons they were excited to share, the Trip Delivers model with restaurants. And so because you guys are working with me, you're partnered with me, you can tell them one of your partners owns restaurants and came from that background, and they were tired of paying massive fees to these third-party delivery companies. And so they got excited about sharing the Trip Delivers model with all these restaurants around the country so they could actually really start to earn massive profits from delivery instead of barely getting by. So these are lines that you can use that can kind of differentiate the Trip Delivers model from the other third-party delivery models. And our one-page documents are going to do that as well. We've got a script set up if you're face-to-face, how to pitch, and it mainly says, hey, use the one-pagers. The one-pagers are going to tell this story, and I'll go through each one-page document that we have. There's two documents you're going to want to utilize that go through the story of Trip Delivers. We've got, different rebuttals. Say we're with another company already, that's great. Continue to do business with DoorDash, Grubhub, whoever. We'll be another marketing arm for you that brings additional profits daily and a way better profit margin. We were with another company, had a bad experience. I try and ask questions, find out what that bad experience was. We have, restaurants that we've dealt with. I have a restaurant the other day that was like, you need to get us off Uber's site. They were on Uber Eats site and they got really, really tired of making food, and then the drivers never showed up. And it happened over and over and over again, and they got tired of it. And so they asked us to help them get off of the Uber Eats site. And so the bottom line is, you find out what that bad experience was, and you let them know why Trip Delivers is different. And you're going to be the main reason they're different. Understand that. if I'm dealing with a new restaurant partner for Trip Delivers, one of the main things, that we offer, other than obviously way better margins for them because we have a flat delivery fee instead of charging them, 20, 30, 40% of their food costs, is, hey, you've got me. I'm here to help. Any issues, anything that comes up, I'm going to be able to help support you guys. You're not calling some random, customer service number in India. This company is, got a face. It's me, and that's where we're a big difference from DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats. They're just some massive corporation that could care less about these local restaurants. They really could care less about their customer base, about their drivers, and about their restaurants, which is what creates the opportunity for the Trip family. So we find out what issues they've had, why we're better, why we're going to fix those issues, and understand you being the face of Trip Delivers is one of the big key advantages that we have over the other companies. How do payments work? They've got their own merchant account, so they get funded next day. If they already have a tablet, we can download our app to their tablets. And we're working on point of sale integration with several different point of sale systems as well. If somebody says, hey, we're too busy, to handle delivery, listen, we can extend delivery time. We can even set up, delivery during your off hours. So you don't need to deliver Friday night, Saturday night when you're packed. We won't even have you on our website. We can take you down, but we want to have you up on Wednesday, afternoon after your lunch rush when you're not really that busy, but we can bring you orders and we can bring you additional profits. And so we've got, answers to typical rebuttals you hear. We don't want to pay a flat rate per order. Hey, I understand even though it's cheap, $2-3, if you're a non-member, it's $3. If you're a member, it's only $2 an order. But if that's still something you don't want to deal with, you can always increase your prices on your delivery menu, increase your delivery fee, and you can pass that on to your customer, that small fee, if you choose to. That's up to the restaurants. They control their pricing, not us. That's the other beauty about Trip Delivers is we let the restaurants run the show. They can control their menus. They can control additional rates if they want to, but most of them at a flat rate, they're just not going to worry about it. It's just so cheap compared to what they're accustomed to with DoorDash, with Grubhub, with Uber Eats. A $2 fee or even the $3 fee for the non-members is way better for restaurant profits. Some folks will say, hey, let me see how you do. We can talk in the future. That sounds good, but when should I follow up with you? I want to find out when to follow up, and just understand as we grow in a marketplace, there's going to be times where there'll be delays in adding new restaurant partners, just getting the menus up and all that stuff. We're going to be pretty busy. So it might be a while before I circle back. So you want to try and press them to get going as soon as possible. We don't do what we want. We want the food quality as high as possible. We don't want our food quality to decrease, and say, hey, let me ask you a question. Do you allow pickup orders? And most restaurants do, especially during COVID times. We're doing the same thing. And we know if the quality isn't good, people aren't going to want to order delivery again. So we have the best technology. We make sure our drivers get the food out fast to the customers so they have the best quality and best experience possible. So that's a great answer to that question. Although with COVID, you don't get that as much anymore. Most restaurants are already doing delivery or trying to increase their delivery, in a big way with the pandemic. And then what if there's an issue with the customer? We place customer service as top priority. We personally deal with any issues. We discuss remedies with the restaurants as well if needed. If there's questions you can't answer, let them know. That's a great question. I'll chat with our corporate team and get back with you. And then, you can get with your leadership and get with us, and we can get you answers to questions that you might not have answers to. The Facebook message, again, this will all be in the back office. It just kind of goes through a little bit about Trip Delivers, a unique restaurant marketing company expanding at a time. Third-party delivery companies like Uber, DoorDash are hammering their restaurant partners with massive delivery fees. Just goes through to how Trip Delivers, can help people increase their revenue, these restaurants, without, the massive delivery fees that are being charged. And, you fire that message out, you get a response, you try and set up a Zoom, set up a phone call, a face-to-face, where you can really go through the information. And once you're dealing with an owner and you're sharing information, you're going to want to use our restaurant one-pagers. And I'm going to go through these a little bit in depth, but you're going to want if you're serious about this, and the bottom line is professionals are going to be serious about this business. Professionals are going to sign up a ton of restaurants and they're going to earn a ton of income for doing so. And professionals are going to go to Office Max or Office Depot and they're going to go get card stock is what it's called. And they're going to print, hey, give me 100 of this one and 100 of the other one. There's 2 documents. They're going to get, or front and back, that's the way to do it. Give me 100 of this on one side and 100 of this on the other side, front and back, card stock. So not normal, just copy paper that's just not, kind of flimsy, not very durable. Get card stock where you can leave this with the restaurant owner. Leave this one-page document front and back with the restaurant owner. This first page, when you sit down with the restaurant owner, this is what I learned to do. When I first walked into restaurants, I didn't have anything. When I finally started to walk into restaurants after I knew what the restaurant owners were looking for, I had these documents. I had this one-page document, and I would go through it with them. I'd sit down with them and go through it. If I'm on a Zoom, I'll go through it. Hey, this document just tells you a little about us. Trip Delivers was launched in November 2020. Based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and is quickly expanding nationwide. What we do, Trip Delivers, lets people order online quickly and conveniently for delivery and takeout from their favorite local restaurants. How do we do it? We offer an easy-to-use order management system to bring you orders from new and existing customers. So, how it works, we've got the pictures. And there are times where you're going to have a language barrier between you and the restaurant owner. That happens, for us quite a bit when you go into the bigger cities and you go into some of the, Chinese restaurants, Japanese, Indian, there's times where there are some language barriers, Thai, but, a lot of them, they speak enough English that with the pictures, they can figure out what you're doing and how it works. And a lot of them, fortunately for us, they already deal with delivery. Some different things that you point out, the customers come in online through the Trip Deliver site. The payments are processed through your account. So we set you up a payment account. You literally will get payments through your own account, which is great. You don't have to wait to get paid. The order gets confirmed, food gets prepared. Our driver will pick up and deliver the food and the funds hit your account next day. Why should you partner with us? No restaurant commission fee percentages, no hidden fees or costs, no annual contract, no exclusivity with Trip Delivers. Get your own merchant account so you get next day funded. We have a flat restaurant fee. Members pay $2 per delivery. There's a $100 membership fee annually to do that. Non-members pay $3 per delivery. Our restaurants are paid instantly, so the funds go into your merchant account and the bank hits your bank the next day. There's a $150 activation fee or $149.99, includes your tablet if needed as well. Some key points on delivery. If they're newer to the delivery business, and 60% of consumers order delivery or takeout once a week. Digital ordering and delivery have grown 300% faster than dine-in traffic. Online food ordering is an $82 billion industry, and restaurants working with third-party delivery service see 10 to 20% increase in sales. And, if they talk about the margins, this is kind of how we explain the margins. And I'm going to get more in depth into this on our next one pager. But with a traditional restaurant, and this is where you can mention, hey, one of your partners that you work with, that's how he got into delivery is he owned restaurants and, was looking to increase revenue and knew delivery was a way to do it. And when you have your in-house clients come in to eat at your restaurant, you've got your fixed cost, the food cost, you're buying groceries, that's usually around 30%. These are fairly rough numbers, but your profit margin is usually a little thinner than this as a restaurant owner. But food costs, let's call it 30%. Overhead, 30%. That's your rent. That's your gas, electric, the utilities, the water bill. And then you got your labor costs. It's usually around 30%. And that leaves about 10% for profit. And that's pretty typical with most restaurants. Again, it's probably a little thinner profit margin than that. But just for easy math, 30% food cost, 30% overhead, 30% labor, and you've got 10% left for profit. Now, if we bring you delivery, you have your food cost that's the same. So if you sell more hamburgers, you got to buy more meat, more buns, more lettuce. You sell more steaks, you got to buy more steaks. The bottom line is the food cost is still going to be the same. The delivery cost for us, for our members, is $2. The overhead and your labor, that stays the same. That's fixed whether we bring you an order or not. So how I explain this to a restaurant owner is whether you cook 10 steaks or 100 steaks for clients, your electricity bill is going to be pretty much the same. Your rent is going to be pretty much the same. The chef that you're paying to cook the steak, whether he cooks 10 steaks or whether that chef cooks 100 steaks, they're still getting $18 an hour or 19, $20 an hour, whatever you're paying them, whether they're cooking one steak or 100 steaks, you're going to have to pay them their hourly rate. So if we bring you business that wasn't going to walk into your restaurant and they're buying steaks from you, that literally increases your profit margin. As a restaurant owner, if I could have less overhead and just have orders going out nonstop for delivery, that creates a better profit margin. And our agreement, basically our member restaurants with a $99 annual fee commit to a $2 commission on all food delivered by Trip Delivers and a $1 commission on all takeout orders. Non-member restaurants pay $3 per delivery and $2 per takeout order. Some restaurants choose to add a service charge to their customers to offset this small fee. We're here to help your business grow, increase your revenue, and to provide your delicious food to hungry customers. So we're really looking to partner with restaurants. We work together with marketing, and how we're different than the other big third-party delivery services that are out there. This is the other side of that one page, the Trip Delivers versus the competition table, where it shows, if you look at the Uber Eats, the DoorDash, the Postmates, and Grubhubs, if a restaurant's doing an average of 20 orders a day, just under $40 per order, they'll pay almost $100,000 in delivery fees to these big companies. Now, when you look at Trip Delivers, for the same amount of orders, they'll pay around $14,000, a little over $14,000 in fees. So it's $84,993 in savings for the restaurant owner to do the same amount of deliveries through Trip Delivers as they would do through a Grubhub, a DoorDash, or an Uber Eats. So if you're a restaurant owner and you can save over $80,000 a year, that's pure profit in your pocket. It was going to DoorDash and Grubhub. It was going to Uber and Postmates and Eat Street and Delivery.com. There's all these other competitors that are out there that are getting paid pretty much a chunk of your food costs. And so that $84,000, instead of going to Uber, goes into your pocket. Is there something you could do for you and your family this year if you had an extra $84,000 in your pocket? The next time a major pandemic were hit or something crazy happened, if you were making an extra $84,000 a year for 5 years straight before, something crazy happened, would that help cushion the blow? Would that help increase your savings that you could dip into as needed? And the bottom line is that type of savings is why a lot of restaurants are excited to partner with the Trip Delivers family and get out of delivery with Uber and DoorDash and Grubhub and these other companies that are hammering them with fees on a constant basis. The restaurant commission fees, we don't have them. Flat rate, $2 for members, $3 for non-members. Our restaurants are paid instantly. With these other companies, you're waiting to get checks for them, sometimes weeks, sometimes a month. Some of them get behind on their payments. We literally help you set up your own merchant through us. So you're paid next day funding. It's going right directly to you. We don't get in the way of your customers and you. The customers are paying you directly through your own merchant setup. Our drivers are paid instantly. We have no hidden fees for our customers. If you want to add on some fees, we're transparent about that, and we'll let the customers know. We're not going to, mark up menus 30% without the customers being aware of it. And the bottom line is that's your decision. You can do that if you choose to. How these other companies, create their margins because they're charging 35% in many cases for delivery. That's added on. Now it still creates, let's call it a 35% profit margin for doing delivery versus in-house. But if you look at Trip Delivers, it creates a 64% profit margin. So if you have a choice to make 35% profit or 64% profit on an order for $38.98, I would choose 64% of the $38 and change. Anyone that can do math would choose to make 64% off $38 versus making 35% off $38. So you want to be able to go through these documents with the restaurant owner. This is telling our story. This is really showing the benefit of us versus the other competitors in the marketplace. These tools are in place because they work. Restaurant owners that understand the numbers will partner with Trip Delivers in a heartbeat, but they need somebody like us to share the information with them so they can understand these numbers and see why we're better than the competition that's out there. They need somebody like us to go out and tell the story of Trip Delivers. And right now, more restaurants than ever are looking for ways to increase their revenue. They're looking for ways to get a bigger customer base. And we can help them do that. We can help keep some of these restaurants alive that are struggling right now. What we have to offer is life-changing for a lot of these small business owners. It's game changing. Some of them, it will keep them around if we can go out and help them get business. Some of them will want to become Trip Delivers partners and marketers and go out and help sign up other restaurants, help sign up, bring on other drivers. Some of these restaurant owners will be the best partners you could ever bring into the Trip Delivers family. They can start earning income not only from the delivery side as we help them bring in more business, but they could have other restaurants and they're making money every time those other restaurants are doing deliveries. They can make money every time one of their drivers that they refer to Trip Delivers goes out and does a delivery. They can make money every time one of their customers orders delivery from them, or a customer that they refer to Trip Delivers orders from any restaurant anywhere in the country. Imagine being a restaurant owner in Nashville, Tennessee, and having a customer base in Miami, Florida, and a driver's Miami, Florida, and having restaurants in Miami, Florida. And every time people are ordering from the Trip Delivers website, that restaurant owner in Nashville is getting paid over and over and over again because they became a marketer with Trip Delivers. So share the story with these restaurant owners, guys. They're more open than ever to hearing about the Trip Delivers story and to hearing about how they can partner and become a part of the Trip Delivers family, guys. So that's really kind of the initial nuts and bolts on restaurant acquisition. We're going to have these documents in your back office available for you. Again, be a pro. Go to Office Max, go to Copy Max, Office Depot, print out, tell them and just say, hey, I need to get 100 copies of these, and go, or 200. How many restaurants are you going to go talk to? And you're going to leave that document, go through it with the owner, leave it with the owner, share the story, and you will partner up a lot of restaurants right now during this pandemic time. And once you start getting a few under your belt, you'll start getting referrals and you'll get more and more. And then you'll start helping your team bring on restaurant partners as well. So that's the nuts and bolts, guys. We'll turn it back over to Bob, and maybe he's got some questions for me, or maybe some of you guys do. I'd be more than happy to share any more insights I can.
Hey, Tony, thanks, man. What a great job. Great information. I think everybody should understand this is all in the back office right now. All these documents are back there. So it's ease of use. If you want to use it, it's there for the taking. I've been looking at some of the people's comments on some things. I want to get some housekeeping out of the way, and then I'm going to open it up to some Q&A with Tony and myself. Couple of things. Somebody mentioned about our card processing, that we give the MID or merchant ID to the restaurant owner and to the driver. We're lower than Stripe. We don't make a profit at all on any of it. We do that by design because we want to put more money in the restaurant's pocket. And we've been offered extra compensation because we'll have hundreds of thousands of people with their own merchant ID accounts, but we choose not to do that. We know where we're making money and we know where we don't have to make money. So that's really important for you guys to know. And some of you here, I saw some other comments. You got to keep an open mind to this stuff because Tony's teaching you. He's not pitching you. There's a huge difference. So, and I saw Art actually corrected somebody and said, look, it's about learning the process and then adapting to your personality so you can do the pitch. So you guys got to understand this. We're having these, we got so many things that are going to get announced over the next week. It's going to stimulate a lot of growth pretty quickly. Let me do a couple of housekeeping things, and I want to give you some numbers. And Tony, I'll do some Q&A. So one thing we're also finding that are a number of people that've got 2 accounts. That's against company policy. If you read the policy, there's 1 user account per person. Okay. One of the problems is by having multiple user accounts, you guys forget which phone number you use to sign in on. We have an OTP, one-time passcode, that's connected to your phone number. You're calling the office and saying, hey, my OTP doesn't work. That's because you're using the wrong phone number for the account you have, which you have 2. You're only supposed to have 1. So those are critical factors, and you got to abide by the rules. It's the same thing using our corporate logo, Trip Delivers. There's multiple people out there using it, and we're getting ready to drop the hammer on a bunch of people that we want to control our logo. It's our brand that we're worried about. If we're going to be a big guy in the neighborhood doing this, we got to do brand protection, and that's huge. And all of you benefit by that. So keep that in your head on that. Tuesday night, we're going to have a massive call on a promotion that we're going to announce on Tuesday night. So you guys ought to build for that call to hear what the promotion is. You're going to like it. It's a big deal. We're going to announce also Tuesday, but we're acquiring a delivery company, a small one in the Florida market. We're going to announce that on Tuesday, who that is. That'll help jumpstart Miami, Fort Lauderdale. We got a lot of stuff going on in Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm Beach. We'll probably start making some of those announcements on Tuesday night. It's going to blow your guys' socks off when you see this or hear about it. So that's a big deal, acquiring a small company. And that was Tony who brought that deal to the table. And we want to look at small independent companies. If they're out there and they have presence in a market, if they're small or big, we're going to go after them and consolidate and build our company that way too. So we want to get where we're going faster. All of you are pretty much aware of all the companies that have been going public recently. We're looking at that in a big way. So we'll make some announcements over that over the next probably 2 to 3 weeks, what we're working on there. All the stuff, all these files that you're seeing, I can tell you a lot of you have never been in your back office because I look to see who's been in there. I can see exactly who's been in there. So you'll find all these documents in your back office, or you'll find it on Facebook group under files. So start using these tools. Let me tell you, a lot of you are sitting, and that's okay, but you're going to find out the ship has already left, and it's just going to pick up more and more speed. So don't get left behind because of whatever reasons. Let me read to you something that's really important so you guys understand what's going on in this industry, not only in the United States, but worldwide, and why we pivoted to doing delivery. And it's really important for you guys to understand this. Tony knows this stuff cold. So I'm going to give you 6 bullet points. So restaurant delivery and sales will go 300% faster than on-premise sales over the next 3 years. You can't put enough people in your building to sit down to grow your business at 300%. It just physically, you don't have the room to it. But with online delivery, on demand is huge. It's growing leaps and bounds. Another stat, 63% of the customers agree that it's more convenient to get a delivery than dining out, which is amazing to me. People would rather get a delivery in the safety of their own home. They don't have to go out. All the conveniences there. So that's a huge number when you start thinking about the size of the industry and what's happening with it. Delivery sales will rise 20% worldwide by 2030. So in 10 years, it's going to go from basically 35 to 50 billion where it is. Tony used 80 billion, but he's right on that number too. You have to look at segmenting the business between restaurant and groceries. So if you combine restaurant and groceries today, it's over 80 billion. And just so you guys know, 80 billion is 5 times greater than the rideshare business. So we not only pivoted, we pivoted to the right part of the market. So it's going to grow from 35 to 40 billion to 365 billion in the next 10 years. You think we're in the right market? We're definitely in the right markets. Yeah. Consumers who place online orders with restaurants will visit the restaurant 67% more frequently than those that don't. So it just keeps telling you this business is exploding. Just in the US, food consumption between groceries and restaurants are about $1.7 trillion a year. And there's going to be 150 to 200,000 restaurants that will not reopen because of the COVID, because they've been hammered, they've been put out of business, independent operators. So there's somebody's going to have to pick up that food slack because the food demand's still there, just the supply chain has been disrupted by having 150 to 200,000. So who's that going to be? My guess, it's going to be, guess what? It's going to be the cloud kitchens, you know, the ghost kitchens. Those guys are going to pick up that slack. You got to remember, every one of those cloud kitchens, ghost kitchens we've signed up is representative of about 20 stores, depending on the size of their menu. So we have right now in our cycle over 2,000 stores that we're going to be connected to over the next probably 120 days. So it's a super amount of stores for us, plus other things that we'll start announcing later this week. But we're definitely going after Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. We've laid off those markets. A lot of things happening in that market that we'll make announcements where we can get things going. If you look at just smartphone orders alone on demand, right now there's over $38 billion of food deliveries out there right now to this day, 38 billion. So you can see the opportunities here to grow the space and the reason we're getting into it. So if you guys want to ask some questions, let me see here. Yeah, somebody said Miami is so hot. It is. Miami, if you take William went down there last week, signed up 5 restaurants in one day. He's been cultivating them, but he's doing it the right way. And those restaurants are averaging something, 50, 67 deliveries a day per restaurant. It's so huge down there. Let's see, Ghost Kitchens take on.
I had a few questions I saw just in the chat line I can go through if you want.
Yeah, why don't you go through those?
Somebody asked, I didn't put the names down, I just jotted notes because I was kind of going through. Somebody asked if we leave the flyer behind. I always do, yeah. I had a business card and a flyer I would leave behind, and I would always go back and follow up. But I definitely got them the information and left it with them. Somebody said, how do you respond if they say, ask how many local drivers have you signed up? If you don't know that number or estimate around that number, you say, let me get with corporate, I'll find out, I'm in charge of kind of, bringing on restaurants right now. We're still pre-launch. If your city's not launched yet, you can let them know that, hey, we're pre-launch, but drivers are never an issue for our company. We've pre-signed up hundreds of drivers in several cities and sometimes thousands of drivers in some of the major cities because Trip has done that. And so, somebody asked about, is the pitch too long? It just depends on the restaurant owner. There's times where I've been in and I've had to do a 2-minute and out. And there's times where I've sat down with a restaurant owner and they ate with me and I sat down with them for 30 minutes, 45 minutes and ate and went through the pitch at that time. So it really depends on the restaurant and the time frame. And the bottom line is that one page, you can leave it behind with them. So if they're pressed for time, they can go through that a bit on their own, but you want to go through the key points. The key points are the differences between us and the other third-party delivery companies. So you can highlight that point on both sides of the one page and you could be done in under 2 minutes if you needed to be. But the bottom line is the tools are there and they can go through the tools at their own leisure if need be. Somebody said, how do you respond if a restaurant owner says, well, let me think about it. I'll say, hey, that's fair enough. What are some concerns that you have? See, I don't know, what's going on in that restaurant owner's brain. So the only way I can find out is I got to ask them, right? And so I'm going to ask questions. Anytime you're in sales, you need to know, sales is a simple transference of belief. It's finding a need and filling it, right? I could without a doubt almost guarantee, especially during today's crazy economic times, restaurant owners need more revenue. They need more profits. And so I know that Trip Delivers can help fill that need. So if a restaurant owner wants to think about it after I'm done pitching, my main question is, what are some of your main concerns? If I can ask, what are your main concerns? And then I listen and they'll tell me. And if I know I can overcome some of those objections, then I'll overcome them. And I told, some folks on the last training, there's times where I've had objections where I couldn't overcome it. Somebody posted in there, some restaurants can't make 100 steaks at a time. That's true. I've done deliveries for a couple restaurants that expanded their kitchens because we were doing so many deliveries. And I've done deliveries for a restaurant that stopped. It was the only restaurant I've had so far in my career from 2016 on with our company that asked to be removed from our site because they were doing too much business. And it was really nice older lady. And she just didn't want to stay that busy, I guess, and like Bob and myself, kind of entrepreneur, we would have just blown out a wall and expanded the kitchen and started doing more deliveries. But, I don't own that restaurant. I'm not that owner. And you know what? I'm not going to force them to do something they don't want to do. It is what it is. I had that one restaurant I told the story about. That's the hibachi place. And the guy did not want his food leaving the restaurant. He wanted people that ate that food to experience those chefs making that food in front of them. And that's hard to argue with, but I got a referral for the best Chinese restaurant as far as delivery volume out of our location in Topeka, Kansas. That owner of that hibachi place referred me to the lady that owned the Chinese restaurant. And we got her signed up that day, walked in. I left the hibachi place, drove to the Chinese place and signed her up and got her as a partner for my delivery business right then and there on the spot. And she ended up being the highest volume Chinese restaurant we have in the city. And so just because you don't get that restaurant, they might have a valid reason that their food can't go out, or the reason for them, the atmosphere or something that they're really set on. That's fine. You're not going to sign up every restaurant, but if you're carrying yourself professionally and you're treating people the right way, you're going to get referrals from some of those restaurants. Even if they're not open to delivery, they might give you a restaurant that ends up being a big player on your delivery side. Somebody said, what if they ask how many restaurants you have on board? If you have an idea, you can let them know. If you don't have an idea, say, hey, we're in pre-launch. We're looking to start with about, depending on the city size, 50 to 100 restaurants is probably when we're gonna start our live launch. We're looking for kind of our 10 to 20 pre-launch restaurants that we're going to do marketing campaigns with, and really kind of lock arms with. And so you could be one of those first 10 to 20 restaurants that we get together with corporate and we do some co-branding, some marketing, and kind of team up to really push the Trip Delivers model and the Trip Delivers family out to this marketplace. Somebody said, how do you respond, when they said, when is the city going to open? Say, hey, we're still pre-launch. If you don't know the exact time when we're looking to launch your city, say, I'll get with corporate and kind of see what their time frame is. But usually, we can launch a city within a few weeks. I'm really kind of looking for kind of the pre-launch restaurant partners that we can lock arms with, do some marketing campaigns together with, and you could be one of those restaurants. And I can promise you that those restaurants that lock arms with us early and are part of that big campaign and the big pushes are going to get more orders than any other restaurants. And so you've got an incentive to come on early and to come on fast. So that was, I guess, a list of some of the questions I saw. I don't know, Bob, if you've gotten some more that you want to fire out that I.
There's a couple little ones. Somebody asked, what happens if a restaurant, you go in and pitch a restaurant and they say, well, we have a 30% upcharge, but we're okay with that, blah, blah, blah. Don't force yourself on a restaurant. Your business model talks for itself.
Yep.
So always be courteous, always use, really common sense. I would personally, if I was confronted with something like that, I would just ask the restaurateur if he minded if I call him back in a month, and you can circle back a month later and give him a pitch again. Because trust me, Nobody wants to give away 30% of their business. They don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's real simple. People will come to the party. It's our job. We're an evangelist. We have to go out and preach about our business. Nobody knows who we are. We're a little bitty startup company, but you got to remember, so was Microsoft, so was Amazon, so was every major, so was Home Depot, Costco. I can name all the startups that were little bitty companies when they started, that today, 20 years later, are monsters. They're all in the Fortune 100, every one of them. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing how the other people started, Grubhub and you know, Uber Eats. All of them started as little bitty companies, but they just built their company with the business model they had on hand. Our business model is so radically different. We will take a run at this industry real hard. Trust me. Nobody wants to give money away they don't need to give away, and they're for the same service. It's pretty simple. So with that, I just want to thank Tony. I think you guys can see bringing Tony on board has been a breath of fresh air. He's got real world knowledge. It's not a case that he's been sitting in an office. He's been on the streets, signing restaurants up, building his business for 4 years. They were in 300 markets around the United States. They were the small delivery company in 300 markets. Think about that in 4 years. That's amazing. So we're lucky to have Tony. He's got real world experience. Like I said, he's going to give you all the information he's got in his brain. And then it's up to you if you want to use it. But he's put all these marketing materials together, videos, and he's just going to keep cranking more and more out to you guys. So with that, I don't have much more to go over. I think we've done a pretty thorough job in an hour. So once again, everybody, we're going to do a call on Tuesday night. We're going to talk about some promotions. We're going to talk about some of these markets that we're going to be able to announce. We'll announce the closing of the small delivery company in Florida that we're going to acquire. We're going to jumpstart that whole market. Keep in mind, we have 27,000 drivers that signed up with us in the Florida markets between Orlando, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. So all of you that are on this phone, if you recruited people in those markets, you want to start tickling them right away and saying, hey, a lot of stuff's coming. You might want to get involved, you know, or at least get reactivated on the driver's side so we can start pulling this together. Because when we make this announcement in a couple of these markets, you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised. So with that, everybody have a great weekend. Thanks a lot, Tony, man. Great job again. I'll send you over that info shortly. Thanks, everybody. You guys have a great weekend. I'll catch up with you.